Good afternoon. Welcome to DNR International's Better Data, Better Design, Residential Lighting Market Profile, Exclusive Peek. I'm Stephen Bickle, Director of Market Research at DNR International, and I'm joined here by Ari Reeves, the Production Manager for the Residential Lighting Market Profile 2012. I'm going to open the webinar with a brief discussion of DNR and some of the unique aspects of our approach. Then I'm going to pass the baton to Ari. We'll share with you some of the key insights that emerged during the preparation of the residential lighting market profile. Then I'll come back on and I'll give you a bit more information about the profile and tell you how you can purchase it. After the presentation, we will take any questions you might have. Now you can submit questions as they occur to you via the Q&A function in the live meeting. Just click on the Q&A button on the menu bar at the top left of your screen. If you're listening to the recorded version of this, you won't be able to do that. Now be prepared. We have both good and bad news about the residential lighting market, but both are news that you want to know. I expect that most of you are familiar with DNR International, but for those who aren't, energy efficiency is one of our primary focuses. We track the market's technology development and product performance of both CFLs and LEDs. Now, on the CFL side, we've supported the Energy Star lighting program since its inception, authoring the widely cited Energy Star CFL market profiles for DOE. We also provide lamp specification development support for Energy Star lamps and administer the Energy Star CFL third-party testing and verification program. We also conduct market analysis for utilities and others, such as this literature review prepared for Pacific Gas and Electric and Southern California Edison. On the LED side, we support DOE's LED Lighting Facts program and have produced its product snapshots on LED luminaires and replacement lamps. We also support the Design Lights Consortium, which is effectively Energy Star for commercial lighting, and provide input on the development of new criteria, among other things. Finally, we support DOE's Lighting Research and Development program and produce its SSL R&D projects portfolio. Now, the residential lighting market profile is the first of a suite of profiles we will be offering. In the second quarter of next year, we will be releasing a companion commercial lighting market profile. Now, for those of you that are interested in this market, we're actually taking pre-orders at very attractive early bird rates already. So just check our website. Later in 2013, we will release additional profiles on HVAC, laundry products, clothes washers, and refrigerators, and probably residential home energy retrofits. Now, all of these market profiles are part of DNR's Better Data, Better Design initiative, which means that all data, analysis, and insights are based solely on accurate empirical data. Now, we accomplish this by screening all data and analyses before we consider their implications for the market. Now, there's an enormous amount of data and analysis out there about the lighting market. Some is really excellent, but much of it is inaccurate and unreliable. So we screen all of our data to make sure that everything that we report reflects the actual ground truth. So, types of data that tend to pass our screen include point of sale and shipment data, sensor and metering data, professional audit data, controlled peer review studies, and studies with large unbiased samples. Data that does not pass our screen and we do not consider is unvalidated self-report data, willingness to pay data, and anecdotal data. Now, let me just illustrate why it is that we don't consider standard self-report survey data. So what you're looking at here are data from a study conducted in Connecticut where people, selected using random digit dialing, were surveyed over the phone about what light bulbs they had in their homes. As you can see, the researchers that is, got a range of answers with a heavy concentration of households that have only a few CFLs. I'll just draw your attention, what I'm talking about are the row of points along the x-axis. We're just showing that dimension right now, which is what people reported in the phone survey. Now, the authors of the study then had professional auditors conduct on-site inventories of these same homes. Now, if people were completely accurate, and every home had the same number of CFLs as people reported over the phone, all of the points would fall on the y equals x line, which is shown here as in orange, when both of the dimensions were plotted. This is what they actually found. What this data, and data from dozens of similar experiments across many fields shows, is that what people tell you rarely reflects anything close to the truth. Now, we actually recommend organizations stop commissioning this kind of research, as it often leads to incorrect marketing strategies, program designs, and decisions. By excluding this type of data, we ground our customers in a firm foundation of good data, over which we layer careful analysis and the kind of expert insight that highlight the critical implications of the results. Our goal is to enable members of the efficiency community to accurately forecast and calculate energy savings, and to develop superior and successful program designs and marketing strategies. I'm now going to pass the baton to Ari, who will share with you some of what we found when we applied this approach to the residential lighting market. Ari?
Thanks, Steve. As Steve said, we have both good and bad news for you. First, the bad news. This chart shows the percent of all sockets in U.S. homes that have efficient lamps in them. We call this quantity socket saturation. This proportion grew rapidly during the last decade, particularly since 2006, when CFL sales really picked up. The red curve shows what would happen to socket saturation if efficient lamp shipments follow the trend of the last 4 years. In this status quo scenario, socket saturation continues to increase, but more slowly, and reaches only about 40% by 2020. Of course, the story won't be the same everywhere. States that had early success in promoting CFLs, but have not continued to grow sales, will experience a slowing in socket saturation growth sooner than will others. Recent saturation studies in Massachusetts and Connecticut, which measured small increases in socket saturation despite high sales volumes, bear this out. The yellow or green curve shows what is possible, given the plethora of efficient lighting options now available to consumers. That's a big difference. But before we get into the reasons behind this phenomenon, I first want to recognize what the efficient lighting community has already accomplished. Here's the good news. This chart shows the proportion of all sockets in U.S. homes filled with efficient versus inefficient lamps. In 2001, just 15% of the lamps in U.S. homes were energy efficient, and nearly all of these were linear tube fluorescents. But by 2010, efficient lamps represented a third of the installed base, with CFLs making up nearly a quarter of all lamps. The savings, both to electric utilities and to U.S. residents, has been tremendous. We estimate that by the end of 2012, CFLs alone will have saved utilities 200 billion kilowatt hours of electricity and saved consumers at least $20 billion. 33% socket saturation is fantastic, but that leaves inefficient lamps in 2/3 of sockets and something closer to half of the energy savings potential still unrealized. Given the many efficient lighting options now available, there's lots of room to grow. But here's the problem. This chart shows our estimates of the number of CFLs shipped each year for installation in homes from 2000 to 2011. Some of you will note that these numbers are considerably lower than those cited elsewhere. That's because we're showing just the portion of CFL shipments that we estimate are going into homes. What I want to draw your attention to here is that efficient lamp shipments grew very rapidly from 2005 to 2007, but have remained roughly flat over the last 4 years. Okay, fine. So why is there a problem, you're asking? Because we're going to see a gradual but steady slowing of socket saturation growth over the next few years, unless there's a dramatic increase in sales. Here's why flat sales is a problem. What you see here is the average US home with 40 screw-based sockets and the average number of bulbs flowing into and out of that home annually. Over the last 10 years, efficient socket saturation grew steadily with each CFL purchase because each new CFL replaced an incandescent lamp. Note that there are no efficient lamps in the outflow. Socket saturation increased rapidly from about 8% in 2007 to about 23% in 2012. But now the CFLs sold in the early and mid-2000s are reaching the end of their lifetimes and beginning to burn out in large numbers, a process which is going to accelerate over the next several years. Note that now there are efficient lamps in the outflow. This means more and more efficient lamps, more and more new efficient lamps, will just be replacing CFLs that burn out, leaving fewer and fewer new efficient lamps to contribute to socket saturation growth. If we assume a constant volume of efficient lamp sales, socket saturation will increase only 7 percentage points over the next 4 years. And then just another 5 percentage points over the following 4 years. If we want to do better than this, the efficient lamp industry has to sell a lot of lamps every year. How many is a lot, you might ask? Well, if you want to reach 60% socket saturation by 2020, and your current socket saturation is around the national average of 20%, you need to sell 3.2 efficient lamps for each home in your service territory every year between now and 2020. Just so you know, in the market profile, the rest of these cells are filled in so you can calculate the sales needed if you're starting at a different baseline saturation or have more or less ambitious targets. Let me put some perspective on this 3.2 lamps per home per year number. Nationally, we estimate efficient lamp sales at 1.4 lamps per home per year. This translates into approximately 160 million lamps, a little more than half of total national shipments to all sectors. 3.2 lamps per home would require sales into the residential sector of 358 million lamps, more than double today's volume. Before you start to despair, you should know that it is possible, to generate these types of sales volumes. The most well-known example, no doubt, is Walmart, which set a goal of selling 100 million CFLs in 2007. By December of that year, Walmart had sold 137 million CFLs worldwide, without, I might add, drastically discounting the price. And they've continued to sell large volumes, with a bit of a drop in 2008 and 2009 at the time of the recession. As of the end of 2011, Walmart and Sam's Club stores in the United States had sold over 460 million CFLs, meaning that these stores alone sold about 40% of all the CFLs sold into the residential sector during that period. Several efficiency programs have also achieved and sustained sales volumes of 3.2 lamps per household, or even higher. Here's the bottom line. We need to more than double efficient lamp sales and maintain or surpass those volumes through 2020. And it's possible to do so. Now, back to you, Steve.
Well, thanks, Ari. Ari noted that it's possible to achieve and sustain sales volumes of efficient lighting that are double the national average. Now, to find out how, you'll have to purchase the residential lighting market profile. Now, how Walmart achieved their results is only one of dozens of critical insights about the residential lighting market in the profile. The profile also reports how low hours of use could go, what role LEDs will play in the market in the next few years, how well efficient lighting products are performing, where the remaining savings potential is concentrated, why dimming is probably not as big a problem as people think, why you don't need to target your lighting programs to specific segments, and much, much more. Now, this rich fund of data comes in a compact package. It's 80 pages long, contains 60 tables and charts, and has 70 unique and, in some cases, exclusive sources. You can tell from the ratio of pages to charts that there's a heavy emphasis on displaying the data visually and providing lots and lots of data. If you need to understand the residential lighting market and want to grow sales of energy-efficient residential lighting, you'll want to have read the Residential Lighting Market Profile. Custom lighting market research typically costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, produces reports running 500 or more pages, and often draws erroneous conclusions and give bad advice because they use unreliable types of data. The Residential Lighting Market Profile has a list price of just $10,000. Now, until 10/31, we're offering an introductory price of $7,500. Those who attended the webinar can obtain an additional discount and a special price of $6,995, and they can do so if they respond to the survey. If you're listening to this online and you'd like to qualify for the discount, you too can do so by responding to the survey. Just email Andre Javier Barry, whose name is given at the end of this presentation, and his email address, and he will send you a link to the survey. So we encourage you to join the leading utility program administrators, efficient lighting manufacturers, and energy efficiency implementation firms that have already purchased this profile. And buying the profile is a small investment that will give you a big competitive advantage. Or maybe think of it this way. What position do you want to be in when your client, customer, regulator, or boss asks you how you're addressing the issues raised in the residential lighting market profile, or whether you are implementing any of the recommended strategies? To place your orders, go to betterdata.betterdesign.com and click on the Residential Lighting Market Profile cover image at the top of the page. If you would like a copy of the table of contents, contact Andre Javier Barry at the coordinates listed on this slide. Thank you all again for taking the time to participate, and we are now going to answer questions.